set in train an exciting chain of events when they entrusted the 2022 UCI Road World Championships to Wollongong in New South Wales, Australia. Wollongong is a place redefining itself, where the breathtaking landscape was made for riding, and where cycling has become the emblem of a lifestyle revolution. A symbol of the city's unique positive energy. And it's that positive energy in all its forms that will fuel a new kind of Road World Championships. A groundbreaking promotion of women's cycling. A world-leading showcase for sustainability. Never before seen technology. An unforgettable, immersive 8-day citywide celebration. A place-shaping event in the Southern Hemisphere's only UCI bike city at a defining moment in its history. An exhilarating combination for the future of Wollongong and for cycling in Australia, across Oceania, into Asia and around the world. Get ready. Ride of your life.
Good evening, good morning, hello and bonjour. My name is Michael Tomalaris. Thanks for joining us wherever you're watching, in Europe, in Australia and any other part of this great planet in Asia as well. We welcome you to the virtual International Media Conference of the UCI 2022 Road World Cycling Championships, and we're going to release the courses for this year's event to be held in the beautiful city of Wollongong, which is located around 80 kilometres south of the capital of New South Wales here in Australia, and that is Sydney. I'd like to start by acknowledging and paying our respects to the traditional custodians of the lands and waters of Australia and the state of New South Wales, and all Aboriginal elders, past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to pay our respect and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the Dharawal country. And that's the area where the 2022 Road World Championships presented by the UCI will take place in September this year. Hello and welcome. I'd also like to acknowledge our special guests from the UCI over the next 60 minutes. We will hear from them and we will hear in detail exactly what we're likely to expect in less than 6 months' time. We'll hear from the UCI partners and Wollongong 2022 partners who are joining us today, and without whom this event would not be possible. So we welcome you all. Let's start the ball rolling. Let's start proceedings by introducing to you the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of Wollongong 2022, Mr. Stu Taggart.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome to Wollongong 2022. We can't wait to host you and the world in September for what will be an unforgettable Road World Championships. Cycling is an emblem of lifestyle, innovation and opportunity in Wollongong, and you'll see firsthand how cycling is celebrated across our community. Wollongong is a very special city, from the landscape to the people. I hope you are ready for the ride of your life.
Thank you, Stu. We're ready. Is the world ready? I certainly hope so. Time now to welcome the President of the UCI, Monsieur David Lappartient, who's been the President since 2017. David, we welcome you.
Thank you very much. It's my real pleasure to be with you today and for this press conference with the journalists worldwide. So welcome to all of you. It's a great pleasure to be this year in Wollongong for the UCI Road World Championship. You know, the UCI Road World Championship are the pinnacle of the season, and all the riders, they want to win this iconic rainbow jersey. And this year we will start a new century, because last year we celebrated the 100 years anniversary of the UCI Road World Championships. But this year we'll start a new century, and we'll start this in Wollongong, Australia, in the iconic landscape with the wonderful scenery and with the true postcard. So that will be wonderful. We also know that in Australia, cycling is very popular, and that's also the way we want to show cycling. Cycling is a real worldwide sport. We know how strong is the passion of the Australians for cycling, and we are very happy to join Wollongong at the UCI. And I would also say that after all this COVID period, I hope that this will also be the symbol of the return to the normal life. So we are more than happy that we'll be able to join Wollongong for the 2022 UCI Road World Championship. And from what I understood, the circuit will be very nice. It will be a lot of uncertainty for the races, because this kind of circuit can match for a lot of riders, so for both men and women. And I'm sure that we will have some wonderful races. All the riders worldwide are very happy to join. For the 11th time, the World Championship will be outside of Europe, and they are more than happy to join this. So thank you, Wollongong. Thank you, Australia, for all what you've done to organize this championship in a very difficult period of time with the support of the public authority. But we can't wait to join Wollongong in September.
Yeah, thank you, David. I think you'll be quite impressed with the preparations and what Wollongong has to offer as a city here in Australia. It has beaches, it has beautiful roads, it has beautiful cafes and cuisines and restaurants, and of course it has a beautiful hinterland where there are some big climbs. We'll talk more about that in just a moment, and we'll hear from you in detail later on. Time now to welcome the three big planners, the three big leaders of the sport who are involved in the planning and the preparation of Wollongong 2022. Joining us from Belgium in the city of Ghent is Peter van den Abeele, who is the sports director from the UCI. And also joining us is the race director, Scott Sunderland, who is no stranger to us here in Australia, a former professional cyclist himself, and he will be calling the shots for Wollongong 2022. Joining me here in the Sydney studio is former professional sprinter himself, racer himself, and Mark Renshaw, who is the safety manager for Wollongong 2022. Let's start with you, Peter. Let's start with you. What are you expecting? Tell us more about Wollongong 2022. Peter, can you hear me?
Muted. Yeah, we were still muted, sorry. So yeah, thank you. So, but the experts, well, they are Scott next to me, and then also Mark and also Amanda. So, but of course, we're looking forward in a great collaboration with the Wollongong team and a recent on-site visit we had. We are delighted to present the UCI World Championships race maps today. So, and we can have a sneak peek of the 101st edition of the UCI Road World Championships.
Let's have a look at the video.
Both the men's and women's elite road races will have a remote start in Helensburgh. From Helensburgh, they'll have a neutral and they'll descend down to the bottom of Bald Hill, where the race will start from kilometre 0. From kilometre 0, the bunch will head towards the famous Cycliste Bridge, an iconic piece of road here in Wollongong. The bunch will wind along the coastline before arriving into Wollongong. They'll pass over the finish line after approximately 30 kilometres before they head towards Mount Keira for the Mount Keira Loop. And this is where the race will come alive.
Mount Keira has a steep, pinchy climb at the bottom, and then it levels out after the score. It's beautiful, dense bush and rainforest. I think that the international riders are going to get a little bit of a surprise, and we hope that lots of tourists get up there and check it out.
A long climb, 8.7 kilometres in length, with an average gradient of 5%. There's parts of this climb that tap out at 15%. The total elevation for Mount Keira is 473 metres, There'll be some big moves go here from the riders looking to break the race up. After the summit of the climb, riders will have a 10-kilometre descent. It's quite tight and twisty. Towards the bottom, it opens up into fast open roads. They'll then head towards Wollongong for the city circuit. Here, the elite men will have 12 laps of the city circuit, the elite women having 6 laps. This 17.1 kilometre circuit has in excess of 33 corners on the circuit. A lot of corners, a lot of braking, and a lot of accelerating. This will put a lot of pressure, a lot of nervous riders in the bunch once they get on this city circuit. The most difficult section of this will be the climb of Mount Pleasant. 1.1 kilometres, an average gradient of 7.7%, with steep sections of around 14% on this climb. This will be the moment where the race really exposes who's going to go for the victory and who's going to go out the back of the bunch here. The descent off Mount Pleasant is extremely fast. Riders will push 100 kilometres an hour here. Down into a T intersection, you're going to have to brake severely to make these corners in the bottom of the descent. The final 2 kilometres of this World Championships will be extremely exciting. We've got a short climb. This is going to provide the opportunity for a late attack. And we're down into the final corner, onto Marine Drive. It's going to be an extremely fast finish to this race. We've got some big climbs, we've got the beaches. There's everything here to provide a spectacular race.
So here, thank you for the presentation. So it was very clear. So, but in a nutshell, so indeed starts on the remote site in Helensburgh, which is approximately 32 kilometers north of Wollongong. So then indeed there will be a neutralized start to avoid the technical downhill, but then heading towards the Mount Kira loop, which will be quite exhausting for the riders, and then heading to the local circuit in Wollongong, where the women will complete 6 laps as indicated, and then the men 12 laps. But as you can see, total elevation is quite hard. So the races will be exciting, very twisty local circuit. So honestly, well, it will be a good mix of a rider of, let's say, Flemish classics, but also the Belgian Ardennes races, who could be the potential winners of those World Championships. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just ask a question, if I may, and bring Mark and Scott into this? One big loop around Mount Kira, which rises to approximately 475 metres in altitude, and then 12 times around Mount Pleasant, which, as you saw from the video, rises to around 115 metres, and they do that 12 times with 33 bends. Scott and Mark, this is unique as far as I'm concerned in recent times. We haven't seen a course like this. Do you agree? What makes it special for you, Scott?
Well, first of all, the scenery. Being in New South Wales and being a New South Wales boy, it's amazing to be having a World Championships in your home state and over roads that are very familiar to me. But look, Tomo, we're going along the beaches. We're covering some of the most beautiful landscape of New South Wales, roads, etc. The beaches, the hinterland. But I think what makes it so special is that lead into Mount Kira. The first time across the finish line, we go up over to Mount Kira, back into Wollongong, and then for the laps. It's a technical circuit, but it's a very fast circuit. The corners are very safe, the climbs and descents as well. And Mark alluded to it before, it's very fast. And the last run through to the finish is, yeah, that's where all the pressure is going to come. So I think it opens up to be a very spectacular and dynamic World Championships.
Yeah, Mark, the time trial. What do you think about the time trial on a stage like this?
Yeah, look, it's going to be a great time trial. It's very exciting. We're going to have some flat sections, but we do have that short city circuit with a lot of corners, and that's going to be what's exciting. We have an extended period of flat there out of Wollongong, so it's still going to be quite fast. And I think, yeah, obviously the big point that we're going to look at, men and women doing the same distance for the first time.
Scotty, I just want to ask you a question. You know, a lot of Europeans, particularly non-Australians, think that Australia is a very flat country, and it is for the most part. It's a big continent, of course, but Wollongong has it's not a flat topography. There are some flat roads along the beaches, but once you hit that hinterland, there's nothing but steep climbs. Can you just explain to our European media that are watching this coverage what the riders can expect?
Yeah, pretty much along the coastline is about as much flat as you're going to have it. Even there, it's undulating. The roads are very fast. The road conditions are very good quality. All the corners are very nice and open and safe. So from that aspect, I'm very confident. But then we came into Mount Kira, we just mentioned. That is a solid climb. And it's not only just a climb of a sort, it's a very lot of vegetation, very high tropical trees, and underbrush is tropical as well, with many ferns and a lot of wildlife, particularly bird wildlife. The local lap is in the city, but while it's in the city, you still have the feeling of that openness of Australia. That's very typical Australia. A lot of trees, a lot of bushland, a lot of parks. So you never really feel you're in a residential or built-up area that much. It's not so dense. And with the climb itself is amazing up to Mount Pleasant. So I think for the topography, beaches at the start, so you pretty much can go for a surf, come back up and watch the race, pass, go back down for another surf. It's just about got everything, Mike. It's got so much to offer, this whole area.
Yes, David, it sounds very exciting. It sounds very spectacular. The scenery here, of course, is great. Are you one that perhaps thought this was going to be a very flat course?
I was expecting maybe something different, but it will be, it will be wonderful because, as I said before, we can have a lot of riders, for both men and women, able to win this. And that will be a kind of circuit where, of course, it's a long race. It will be a tough one when you see the elevation, but you also need to be good in descent, because I heard that the speed will be close to 100 kilometers. So the fear must be away from yourself. So yes, very open one. Maybe why not Julian and Philippe for a third title, and Maya Vos also. So let's see who will be the winner, but sure, some wonderful races.
We're encouraging all media, members of the media internationally, to ask questions. Put the questions in the chat space there in front of you. We encourage you to ask questions to any of our panellists here, whether they're in Sydney, in Belgium or in Switzerland. Please put those questions in now. David, gender equality is very important in world sport, in society in 2022. Tell us about the news that you can reveal regarding Wollongong 2022.
That's a very important topic to the UCI, and it's a clear goal on the agenda 2022 to reach gender equality. Just to give you an example, we came from one woman in the board of the UCI among 17 to now 6 among 18. So it's a big step, but in Wollongong we'll have some new steps regarding the field of play, I would say, with 2 new titles to reach complete gender equality regarding the number of titles, with the women under 23 for time trial and for road. So this is the first time ever. And then we'll have the full gender equality and parity regarding the number of titles. We have, of course, the same distance as Mark Renshaw mentioned before, the same distance for the first time ever for the individual time trial. So let's see, that will be something also really wonderful. So 2 strong innovations in Wollongong 2022. And in addition to this, I just want everybody to remember that since a long time, it's the same prize money, of course, for both men and women in all UCI official events, World Cups, and of course, World Championships. And of course, it will be the case for Wollongong 2022. And we'll continue to move for and to push for gender equality with exactly the same minimum salaries in the World Tour next year for both men and women. So still a lot of work to be done, but we have done a lot and we'll continue. And Wollongong is a big step for this.
Well, Amanda Spratt, we'll ask you to come in now, and you're calling us from Belgium yourself. How do you receive that news about the gender equality?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful news to hear that, and I think a big step forward. And certainly in this day and age, we are looking at more gender equality. And as a female racer, I can see how much women's cycling is progressing. So I think it's really exciting news for the younger generation as well.
And of course, the time trials will be held on the same day, both the men's and women's, on the same course, on the same distance. So that must be exciting news for you.
Yeah, really exciting news, and watch out, guys. It'll be exciting to see what some of the top female time trials can do compared to the men. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great challenge, and yeah, I'm really proud as an Australian that this can happen there.
Amanda, you're a three-time national champion of Australia. Can we expect to see you in Wollongong wearing the green and gold, the colours of Australia?
Yeah, I certainly hope to be there in Wollongong. I'm a proud New South Wales rider, and I've grown up racing and riding on many of the roads that are involved in the World Championships, and been there in January to ride the courses. And I just think, yeah, I may be a little biased, but it is spectacular and one of the most beautiful courses I've ever seen. And we just know with the intensity of a World Championship road race how hard that race is going to be, and such a dynamic course as well. So yeah, I just feel so excited about the race itself.
Yeah, we can tell. We can tell from the smile on that face of yours, Spratty. Stu, what about you? Tell us about the preparations. You've been the CEO now for a couple of years. It's been a long grind, I would expect. Tell us about the planning.
Yeah, it's been a challenge at times, but I think we've always had this attitude as an organising committee to put this as a North Star to look forward to as we work through the pandemic. So we're really excited to welcome the world to Wollongong. International borders are now open to Australia from late February. We welcome the UCI. Ironically, on that day, on the 21st of February, for a week, we spent a week with the technical team. We really interrogated our planning together. And I think we got excited together about what's in front of us, because there's some really unique opportunities that we've talked about, but this will be a transformational moment for Wollongong and for Australian cycling. So, you know, a lot of things are coming together. We can't wait to welcome the world, as I said earlier.
Yeah, it's going to be a long trip for the non-Australians who are competing in Wollongong 2022. Now, for the members of the media who are tuning in to this coverage, I've got some news for you. A reminder that you will be able to ask questions, of course, to our guests. We encourage you to ask the questions, but in terms of your transfers to Australia, I've got some information here for you. For all travel inquiries about accommodation, transfers and setup, please contact the Wollongong 2022 Travel Office for support. Their details are on the screen now. The media accreditation program will open on the 15th of June and close on the 12th of September. So there's a 3-month window there. Please watch the event website and the UCI website for information. Now, to travel, for non-Australians, to travel to Australia, you must comply with government requirements regarding visas and vaccination. And we urge you to please visit the link on screen for more information to help you plan the journey. Peter and Scott, we know that the Mount Pleasant course, or part of the men's elite and the women's elite races, will be held around the smaller hill, if you like to call it a hill. But why once around Mount Kira at an altitude of 475 metres and not more than once?
As I just mentioned before, Mike, I think we've got an opportunity to showcase Wollongong at its best, and Mount Kira is very much part of that. I was fortunate enough to, while I was doing the site visit recently in January, to stop off on the Mount Kira lookout. Grabbed a quick selfie, as you always have to on a lookout list, but you've got beautiful views completely up the coastline, north and south, and over Wollongong itself. You can actually see the whole course from up on Mount Kira. And it'd just be remiss of us to not take in that hinterland area across the top of the escarpment and travelling back down into Wollongong. And like I mentioned before, you've got these beautiful beaches, and pretty much you can go surfing, riding, jogging, and enjoy a beautiful lunch in many of the cafes. So it's, you know, to do Mount Kira would, yeah, like I mentioned, be remiss. I've ridden over it many times myself, as I'm sure Mark has, and Amanda said herself. So it's very much part of a cyclist to-do list when you go to Wollongong.
Mark, it's always important, I feel, whenever a course is designed for Australians or the local home favourite to come up trumps. Tell us, were any Australian professional cyclists involved in the creation of the courses?
Look, early on, Mike, there was a group set up. A lot of ex-professional riders were put together. We came to Wollongong with Stuart and the team, and we really looked at all the courses, all the options. So they had, we put together a good group of ex-riders that brought a lot of different views and opinions, and this formed a basis of what would happen with the course. I think we've come up with an exceptional course. There's some really exciting moments. We spoke about Mount Kira, but the city circuit for me, it's going to be the diamond in the race.
33 corners, that's a lot, is it?
Look, there's certainly a lot of corners. Not often do we count corners on a city circuit like that. As Scott mentioned earlier, they're fast, they're open corners. It's a very safe course. But with that amount of corners, it does come with a lot of opportunities to attack out of corners, a lot of times to relaunch in this race. And I think a race of this distance for the men and women, so many accelerations out of corners, I think that's going to really pay towards the end of this race, and it's going to make the difference.
Peter and Scott, have you got an early tip as to who this course for the men's race might favour, and also the women? Who do you think might be in line for that rainbow jersey?
Well, from my side, definitely bearing in mind Mount Pleasant, which is a very short, punchy climb. So 1.1 kilometers. So there I definitely go for, in the male's peloton, for the punchers. So definitely, yeah, why not Julian Alaphilippe making it 3 in a row as Peter Sagan did before. But then also, of course, yeah, the cyclocross guys, Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, they will always be there, and they will be there. They will be ready for those World Championships, definitely. Wout van Aert, after missing the rainbow jersey in his home country last year. So, but maybe for the women's field, Scott.
Well, look, I think all the major contenders, and I think Balsamo for her to defend her title, I think it's going to be a challenging course for her. For a top sprinter like herself, it's always the challenge for the team. So if the team is there ready to look after it, they'll have to do a lot of work. She will, possibly have that chance to defend a title. But then, the likes of Marianne Vos, Van Vleuten, they're not going to make it easy for it. They're going to be going out early. They'll be taking all the advantages they can of putting pressure on the sprinters. And don't forget, we've got Spratty there, who's going to be definitely just trying to keep herself in the mix there. I'm sure she's got her own tactics after doing the recon. And then from the men, we've got Michael Matthews and Caleb Ewan. I think Michael probably can follow the attacks in the early parts. Once again, if Caleb's got the team support he needs, he'll definitely be up there. And we know that Caleb can do that too as well. We've seen him in Lance and Remo, how well he can climb. So, yeah, I think from the Australian perspective, we're going to be in with a show both in the women's and the men's. And, yeah, why not? Let's keep fingers crossed.
Yeah. Amanda, both Peter and Scott rattled off some names there, but is this a course that might suit you? Scott, he did mention your name. You're at home, you're in Wollongong, you're in New South Wales, and have you sort of done some homework on this, and will you be allowed free rein?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had a good look at the course and a good ride of the course, and it's definitely one that I see that suits me. But I think overall, as an Australian team, it's one, it's a home World Championships. Everyone's putting their hand up for it, so we're going to have a really strong team. I know Grace Brown is going really well. We've seen that in recent classics as well. So I think there are a few of us that can put our hand up. And I think the course itself lends itself to not having maybe just one specific leader. You have to be open to different race situations. And as it's been mentioned before, I think it's going to be a really aggressive race as well. And certainly with a team like the Dutch, who are going to want to make it hard to drop Balsamo, I think it's just going to be such a dynamic race, and having options there in the final will be key. But for sure, it's a big goal of mine this year.
Mr. President, David, the last time the World Championships, the Road World Championships, were held in Australia was in Geelong in Victoria 12 years ago in 2010, and I can assure you it was a wonderful success. I was there, we were there, some of us, and there was up to 500,000 people lining the course of the Victorian city. And the expectations are pretty similar this time around for Wollongong. Up to 500,000 people are expected to attend the week-long festival. Why did the UCI choose Wollongong to host this year's Road World Championships?
So I was also in Geelong some years ago. It was, as you said, a great success. And I'm sure it will be also a great success here. So we choose Wollongong at the UCI for many reasons, but one of them is also because the city of Wollongong has a long-term strategy to enlarge cycling or bicycle, not only for the competition, but also for the leisure, as a way of life, for transportation. And that's also key to the UCI. And this is why we awarded the UCI Bike City label to Wollongong. It's really key for the UCI to think, I would say, outside of the box, and also outside sometimes of only the competition. The World Championship is a sort of kind of showcase, but it's also about cycling, to enlarge cycling for everybody, also for the kids in the school. And I know that Wollongong is doing well for that. So there will be a lot of passion. And for us, we can't imagine a UCI Road World Championship without any spectators. We had one time to do this due to the COVID, but of course, we'll have a lot of fans around the routes. We'll have a lot of passion. We have also a lot of expertise. And for UCI, when we go to Wollongong, when we go to Australia, we just have to put our feet on the sleepers. You know, everything will be done perfectly, and that's great. So thank you, Wollongong. Thank you, Australia. Thank you, New South Wales.
Stu, television is a very important, television coverage. What sort of homework have you done in terms of ensuring that the world is watching Wollongong 2022?
Yeah, we're really excited. We're expecting around 300 million people to be able to experience the event that we're enjoying talking about tonight. And what better showcase for Wollongong? So we're working really closely with the UCI team and their broadcast partners internationally to be able to showcase Wollongong across the globe. So super excited to do that.
And what about the local community? It's a city, for those who may not know, it's a city of around 300,000, 350,000 in population, located 80 kilometres south of the capital of New South Wales, the biggest city in Australia, in Sydney. Tell us about the local community. It is a UCI bike city, the first of its type. Is the local community excited?
Yeah, I think the curiosity started to build, and I think we're seeing some great initiatives coming out, one of which was launched yesterday by Wollongong Council and Destination Wollongong to create bike city friendly venues. And already over 30 or 40 venues have signed up in 24 hours to get on board and support the event and to support the future of cycling in the city. And I think that's a really clear indication from the community that they're really willing and able to celebrate the UCI coming to town with this World Championships.
Mark, the fact that the elite races are starting from Helensburgh, there was talk about starting from the Royal National Park, which is just north of Helensburgh, in between Sydney and Wollongong. Why start from Helensburgh and not in the park?
Look, what an opportunity for Helensburgh to have the start of the World Championships. It's a beautiful little town, a lot of cyclists from this area, and I think it's just a great place to get it outside Wollongong as a remote start. They drop down onto the coast, as I mentioned earlier in that video, Cycliste Bridge. Some amazing views, and it's a nice start for the men and women. It gives them a chance to roll out, get into the race before we head to that Mount Kira loop and the tail end of the race.
Peter, I just want to ask you, Peter, about the fact that it's a circuit race, and you've got probably up to 160 riders in the men's elite race, surely. The fact that it's a circuit race, riders dropping out, how will that unfold? Riders who are dropped on that circuit around Mount Pleasant, will that be a problem?
You know, people getting dropped, let's say you're disappointed, but it's never getting a problem, definitely not on a local lap. So, but here we indicated already, it's twisty, but it's nice and smooth. But at the end, yeah, of course, yeah, the climb will be difficult. Mount Pleasant, my quote would be, well, Mount Pleasant won't remain pleasant for all the riders, especially not at the end of the race. Huh?
That's very good. I like the analogy there. What about you, Scotty? What do you think about the fact that it's a circuit race and some of the slower riders, particularly from the non-traditional cycling nations, they may have some issues?
Yeah, this is, goes hand in hand. I mean, the Olympics experience the same sort of problems with managing, the riders who are coming from those lesser countries or less developed in cycling. But that's why they're here. That's why they're allowed to participate participate in World Championships, it's a growth period for them. So the participation is vital in the development. And we've seen that with young Grimme, who became the first African winner of a World Tour race on Sunday in the Ghent-Wevelgem event. This is vital for them. And what the UCI's work's doing for these countries in the development, we've got the World Championships in 25, correct me if I'm right, in Rwanda, the first time that the World Championships will be based in an African country. So what Wollongong is doing here, the part of that whole continual growth of world cycling and becoming a world sport, and the World Championships plays a big part of it. So to manage it, yes, it will be tough, but it will be managed fairly and clearly, and we'll try to keep the riders in there as long as we can, Mike. It's all about participation as well. It's a race. But we'll manage that in a way, and we've discussed it already internally. I've discussed it with Mark and Steve Peterson and the performance team, how we will do that appropriately to give them the best chance, the best experience they can.
David, how important is it to have nations from the African continent do well? We've seen Eritrea perform at the big races like the Tour de France, and we saw a recent winner in Europe. How important is to ensure that this sport of cycling, this beautiful sport of cycling, becomes truly global?
This is also clearly a goal for the UCI to reach universality in our sport. We have now 201 affiliated members, nations in the UCI. So we are ranked among the top 3 worldwide, which is key. And we have also now 100% of coverage in Africa with 54 national federations. And cycling is booming, as you just mentioned, with the victory of Guilherme on the Ghent-Wevelgem. The first time ever that an African won a UCI World Tour races, but even more, a monument of cycling. So I don't think we will wait very long to have, for the first time ever, a UCI World Champion on the road from Africa. And as you also mentioned, in 2025, we will be in Africa for the first time ever. We have been created in 19,000, and after 125 years, we'll go for the first time ever in Africa, in Kigali, Rwanda. That will be amazing. And we design an agenda 2025 for Africa to enlarge participation for all the categories, for both men and women. We had a meeting last 2 weeks ago in Egypt with the Association of National Olympic Committees from Africa to write this roadmap together. And clearly, Africa is also the future of cycling, and the passion is so strong in Africa. I'm sure that we will have more than 1 million people in Kigali for the UCI Road World Championship also. So welcome to Africa in Wollongong, and why not? Because we have always something new in Australia. Why not, for the first time ever, an African UCI Road World Champion? This is also our wish at the UCI.
David, a question from a member of the media. What is the expectation of the women in the under-23 racing in their own event for the first time? And how many?
I think it was also the time for to have this championship. And as we said, we'll have an evaluation after 2 or 3 years, and then in 2025 to have an independent under-23 championship for the women for the road race. That will be for the first time in Kigali. So we don't know exactly what will be the proportion in between under-23 and elite riders, because in some countries it's of course a mixed team. But sure, we have a lot of young, talented ladies. So at least 1/3 of the bunch will probably be with under-23. That will sure lead us to a wonderful race. One race, 2 titles, and in 2025 we'll have 2 separate races.
Mark and Scott, the time starts for the men's and women's elite races. Has that been a discussion point for you guys? Given that we are in Australia, it's a different time zone. And the viewers in Europe in September will be 8 hours behind. So was that a discussion point or not?
Look, it's going to be very difficult. The championships are here in Australia, so the time zone with Europe will be difficult, I'm sure. And along with Steve Peters, who Scott just mentioned, they've worked really hard on the program, getting the timings right. And it's a good opportunity for the UCI to see how they progress with streaming this and showing this in Europe. To everyone who'll be waking up at breakfast and checking out the World Championships.
Mr. President, was there any concern about the border closures that took place in Australia up until recently? Was that something that was were you panicking that the borders would not open in time?
Not specifically, because it's not. I do not panic, you know. So and Peter can be the witness of this. So I always say that things will happen. Don't worry. And I met last summer during the Summer Olympic Games with the Federal Minister of Sport, and we have a discussion around this. And he said, "Don't worry. In September 2022, we'll be able to welcome you. There will be some stages in between. We were in July last year and September next year, but sure, we will progressively open. But for this, we need a strong level of vaccination. We need to have a coordination worldwide." So I was never really worried about the situation. And I congratulate also all the Australian authorities for the excellent job they have been doing to face this COVID crisis. But of course, we have to follow the rules, to follow the regulations and the laws in Australia. And also, we had a very strong health protocol in the UCI. It's still mandatory, so we still take care about the situation.
Stu, a delegation from the UCI visited Wollongong in December or early this year. How significant was that, and what do you think the UCI delegation got out of the visit?
Look, I think for us, we were craving that opportunity for the UCI to be here with us. We'd spent a lot of time on calls like this. So it was fantastic just to spend time together, to get deep insights immediately, to be answering questions and responding over a week together was really powerful. Pleasingly, the work that we'd done with the UCI, the bulk of it was vindicated and validated, and we were really grateful that the UCI made that effort, because it was a big effort through that journey of the pandemic to work with us. But I think there was the curiosity again for the UCI delegation to see some of the punchier parts of the climbs. You can share as much as you want virtually, but until you actually get out on the course and experience where some of those ramps are in these climbs, it's going to be, I think, for the technical team that were there, that was something they took away and something that we got excited about.
Amanda, one question for you from our members of the media. For non-Australian competitors, your colleagues, if you like, are they asking you what is it like to race in Wollongong over a course like this? Are you getting are you giving them advice, or are you keeping it close to your chest?
Definitely keeping it a little close to my chest, as always. But no, I am getting questions and a lot of curiosity around the course and what the makeup's going to be. So I think today's a really exciting day for that. But I'm just really excited to share with them just also about the scenery and what Scott was saying about being in the rainforest and at the beach and just that element of the course as well. I'm focusing more on the scenery and leaving the finer details for them to find out for themselves.
But are they asking specific questions about the course, the technicalities of it?
Yeah, they are asking about the climbs and how hard the climbs are, and you know how the road surface and as I saw as well, it is quite a safe course. So it's not typical Belgian really narrow road. So it's a really safe course in that respect. But there is a lot of curiosity around the climbs and how much that's going to impact the race.
Last call for media to please post your questions. We're running out of time. Please post your questions right now, and we'll relay them to our members of the panelist. Scott, we've had 2 years in lockdown in many parts of the world. We've had little competition. Big races are kicking off in Australia next year. How important is this Road World Championships for the future post Wollongong?
I think there's Wollongong has a big part to play in saying pretty much to the world, Australia's open to cycling again. We're open for business. Wollongong plays a major part in that. I mean, we've been waiting for Wollongong to arrive for so many years now. Stu Taggart and Sally and Peter, Steve Peterson have done such a great role in getting that all ready and set to go for when the borders did open. So now we've had a couple of years with no major international racing that's happened in Australia. And so Wollongong's going to be the first event back on the calendar for us. So it is vital to have the Wollongong. I'm sure it's going to be a massive success. We've talked about the courses, we talked about everything else around the area of Wollongong. So I think it is very key for us in the cycling of Australia to have Wollongong World Championships. And we look forward to then the legacy that it's going to leave as well. It's not just Wollongong 1 year, it's a legacy it's going to provide and for the young and inspirational young kids coming through, plus for other events and potential growth for new events within New South Wales and all of Australia.
Yep, well said, Scott. Mark, a question for you. It's a very difficult course by the look of it on paper. You're very vocal during your professional days that some of these national courses in Australia were very difficult. Is it a course for a sprinter? Can a sprinter win in Wollongong in the men's elite and the women's elite?
Look, being honest, Mike, I had the opportunity. I've ridden just about every metre of this course, so I can say from the bottom of my heart, it's possible for a sprinter to win. Look, as Australian, we've mentioned Caleb Ewan. I'd love to see Caleb win, but he's going to have to bring his absolute A game. If we wind back from the city circuit, that Mount Kira climb, it's difficult. It's going to give some of our big riders, our climbers, the opportunity to really open up the race, which is going to be interesting. But that climb of Mount Pleasant on the city circuit, it's going to be super difficult for a sprinter, to get over that. It's not going to be impossible. There's time to come back from that climb. We see directly after Mount Pleasant, they turn right. It's a bit of a U shape where they can kind of come back just before they plummet down towards the beach. So from the bottom of my heart, I'd love to see a sprinter hang on over those 12 laps for the men, 6 for the women, and come down to Marine Parade. It'll be a beautiful photo, little bunch sprint there. So crossing my fingers, I'd love to see a sprinter be there.
Well, New South Wales and Australia welcomes the world to Wollongong in September of this year. The 8-day carnival kicks off on September the 18th and we'll conclude with the big one, the men's road race on September 25. There are 11 world titles up for grabs, 13 events. Let's have a look at the schedule. Mark, maybe you can just gloss over what the events are all about.
Look, starting with the time trial for the women, first event up, first time that'll happen, racing on the same day as the men. It's going to be, we've touched on it. It's going to be amazing. The same distance for the men and women. So, to open the World Championships with that day of racing is going to be exceptional.
What do you like about it, Peter and Scott?
Oh, I love it. I think the whole program for the week is amazing. Kicking off Sunday, having a women and a men's time trial, I think that's a key thing. It's a first for the World Championships to have both events on the same day and across the same course. It's going to be amazing start to get things kicked off, and then all the races during the week. I think it's a really nice balance on what we're going to see each day. And then, of course, for a huge weekend of the women's and men's elite road races.
Yeah, and let's not forget on Wednesday, the 21st, so where we have the mixed relay, so where we have, it will be the 3rd edition as well. So, and here we have 3 men, 3 women who do kind of a relay event on the same course as well. So that's also a new project we installed under the leadership of our president as well. So, and here also it's something exciting as well, a mixed event, which is also good, going for gender equity. So yeah, looking forward to that event as well. And then last but not least, important to mention as well, is that the youth categories, they will race only on the Wollongong city circuit. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be huge. We are looking forward to welcoming the world to Wollongong in September of this year. And I can tell you that almost every room accommodation is booked out in that city. And many accommodation rooms are booked out in the southern part of Sydney, not too far away. Stu, it's going to be massive. You've done a great job in preparing. And let's hope, and I'm sure, no stone will be left unturned.
No, we'll continue working feverishly together to welcome the world. So please come to Australia. We're excited to welcome you, and we're really looking forward to an unforgettable World Championships.
It's a grand final of cycling in September of this year. Thanks to all our panellists, Peter and Scott in Belgium, Amanda also in Belgium. Monsieur President, thank you for joining us from your home base in Switzerland, and also in the studio here in Sydney, Mark Renshaw and the CEO, Stu Taggart. Thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you in September of this year in Wollongong, the Bike City, Cycling Central for 2022.